All right, we're calling to order the Police Community Advisory Board for May 7th, 2025. Let's take roll first. So Vice Chair Buchanan?
Here.
River Powers? Here. Rachel Paul, I am here. Marty Malloy?
Yes, ma'am.
Chris Wigenstein is absent. Chief Slowick? Captain Barton, singing for Chief Slowick, yeah. And Meg Massey? Thank you. Okay. All right, do we want a motion to approve today's agenda?
I make a motion.
I second that motion, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Let's, can I have a motion to approve the minutes from March 5th? Do we have a minute to look at those? What did
you vote on that first one?
all in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you. Okay, a motion to approve the minutes from March 5th?
So moved.
I second that.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, the fourth item on the agenda is time for public comment. During this time, citizens may comment on subjects of interest not on the agenda or agenda items. And we have two items that are going to be entered into the record, but they really don't have to do with the Community Advisory Board, so we don't need to read these, is my understanding.
That's correct. Both of those have to do with the marina. It looks like since the Community Advisory Board was just CC'd on that communication.
Thank you. Any other comment? Okay. All right, items for discussion. So the first item is the 2025 meeting calendar. We need to reschedule the November 5th, 2025 meeting due to a city council meeting conflict. Do we want to? Yeah.
November 5th is the first Monday, or Wednesday, right? So maybe we could do the second Wednesday?
Can we do the 12th?
It looks like the chief and I will both be unavailable for that.
Chief is unavailable, you said?
That is correct.
Do we want to try the 19th? Is that
The 19th shows he's available, yes.
available?
That works for me.
Okay. Do we need a motion for that?
Madam Chair? I
Yes.
move that we move our November meeting to November 19th.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah. That motion is approved, and we're moving that meeting to November 19th. And Captain Barton, I think you're going to give us an update on the strategic plan now?
Yeah, that would be great.
I don't know how to turn my phone.
How y'all doing today? Thanks for letting me entertain you. So, I know in our last meeting that we were going to try to roll out a hard copy of our 2025 strategic plan. So, we have not put that in hard copy form, but I want to make sure that we have an update of where we're going and what we're trying to accomplish. And so, this is what we rolled out to our staff back in January, so they had an understanding of what we accomplished in '24 and some of our goals and objectives for this next fiscal year. So some of the things that we made sure that we took place in 2024 was we focused on reaccreditation, making sure that our standards were up to date. We passed our accreditation, and so we've now been recertified for the next 4 years, or 5 years. And we created a new strategic plan that actually spanned a 5-year period of time. So So each of those years are broken out into strategic goals for each year. And so we will cover the things that occurred for 2025. We also were able to purchase a series of laptops for about $100,000 during this last fiscal year, which is something that we're rolling out to all of our staff to assist in better continuity for their operations and control. And we've created some new positions within the organization to include a training sergeant, so we can enhance the development of our people, and so that's kind of a big push for us. So some of the things that have happened during 2024, we lost a few people within the organization, but we were able to hire a few as well, so those are good. But where we're at right now is we are currently down 7 police officers. All of our professional staff are currently up to date, so we have all those positions filled, which is a great thing for us. But now we're just working on this piece now.
I have a question for you. So the positions that we are down, we have the funding for them, we just don't have them filled?
That's correct.
Is that correct?
So 5 of the 7 positions we have are new positions that the city council approved for us. We were awarded a COPS grant, which gave us funding for those 5 positions, or partial funding for those 5 positions. And so that's where some of those vacancies come from. We were only 2 now, but now we're able to increase our staff because of city council and the agreement. One of the things that we worked on in 2024 as well is to realign how our structure looks like internally. So really focusing on breaking out what our chain of command is, creating more operational effectiveness, and really identifying who everybody reports to. You know, that is something for functionality of the organization that is slightly lacking. So this is our new breakout. As we onboard 2 new lieutenants, whether those are going to be internal or external promotions, that's something that we will be doing this year. They will oversee both of our divisions. One's on the operations side, one's on the services side. So one will oversee like patrol and those daily operations that affect the community. And then the services side focuses more on the administrative side of the house and our investigations unit, so like our detectives. So in the last meeting, the chief provided our mission statement. This is one of the things that we really worked on with our staff to create, and really how we define how we are going to operate and move forward as an organization. And so I wanted to make sure that we put this back up again today, because this is really a big piece of what's moving us forward. Because the decisions that we make and how we service the community is really driven from the statement. It's particularly our values of respect, integrity, and excellence. And for our team, we really wanted to break it out and show them what those things meant. So they had a clear understanding of what respect was, internally and externally. How do we service people that are in our community? How do we treat each other? What is expected of us when it comes to integrity? How people trust us, how people view us, you know, in our relationships and the things that we're doing on a daily basis, and then how we actually service the public for excellence. How we do our daily job every single day, and making sure that we're providing a good quality product to the people that, you know, deserve it. So where are we going? So as we started looking at our strategic plan, we wanted to take a holistic view of the department. The department has been in various states for years. Some things it has been done very well. Other things, just like any other organization, there's areas where we can improve. And so that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to take a good critical look at what those areas were and where we can find those improvements. So we also wanted to take a look at some of our technology, our vehicles, and making sure that those things are relevant to the actual field that we're in, making sure that they talk to each other, so we have some continuity between systems. So that's part of what we evaluated, and what are we doing to prepare for the future. So looking at succession planning, we're looking at hiring and retention, big things that are going to keep people here in Oak Harbor to service our community. So our 2025 through 2029 strategic plan, we basically created 4 priorities. First one is recruitment and retention. Second one's organizational efficiencies. Third, accountability and transparency. And the fourth one is growth management. So we're just going to focus on 2025 today and just kind of the action items that we've identified for ourselves. So one of the big pieces that we were looking at is really looking at our process of how we go and draw people into our organization. How do we recruit the best quality applicants possible? So are we connecting with them in a certain way, or are we failing to connect with them in a certain way? What makes us special or different than some other place? Why is this the place to be? So we're making those assessments. We're looking at our plan on how we go out and advertise, where we draw these people in from, use of social media, different types of advertisements, different events to maybe go and recruit from. And then we start looking at creating different strategies on how we're doing that. So these are all things that are going to be in the process throughout the year of identifying how we move forward in coming years.
Excuse me, Captain.
Yes.
Is that, as you are assessing and refining these things, is that a whole department activity where everybody is having input, or is it leadership that are meeting on a regular basis and
So it's a combination
planning
of
it out?
So the relevant work groups for certain positions, when we're opening up a position or we're knowing that we're needing to fill, their input is being solicited. So we can identify whatever the relevant job needs and things like that, because all positions change over time. So we want to make sure that the job descriptions and things like that are relevant to that current position. When it comes to the actual marketing piece, that's in flux right now. People will be asked of their opinions as we develop that plan, but maybe we need to contract with third party source to help us market these types of positions. I don't have a good answer for you at this point. That's something that still we're trying to work on to figure out the best way to go out and doing this. Go. Let's see. So another piece that we're trying to do in regards to the recruitment and retention is we're looking at our hiring standards. So part of that is partnering with HR, looking at, hey, is our process the most effective way to go about bringing people into an organization? Do we have redundancies? How can we streamline? How can we make that more efficient? Are the things that we're asking, has society changed and we need to adjust our standards to adapt to that? Or because of the type of profession, we have to keep our standards even if certain things in society have changed. And so we have to evaluate that. We have to see what law changes occur, because some of that drives what our requirements would be. And so some of those things have happened over time. So to give an example of our policy, used to be for marijuana was 5 years. Now it's fairly standard in Washington State, it's 12 months. Part of that is because of legal and illegal marijuana. So
I'm sorry, would you explain what used to be 5 years?
So if you
What's
use
the
marijuana,
charge? What,
was that?
what about marijuana?
So
Yeah.
it was the use of marijuana. So if you utilize marijuana, it used to be that just use alone would prohibit you from becoming a police officer if you used it within 5 years. Now, agencies, it's typically 12 months. Some agencies, it's as low as 6. But the standard that we see across the board typically is about 12. But that's just an example of something that we've seen as a change, because in Washington State, we've had the legalization of that. And so it becomes a more commonplace thing. And so for people to have that not in their background, especially in that period of time, it's a lot rarer. So, but because of our interaction with our federal partners, and sometimes interaction with task forces and things like that, do prohibit law enforcement to participate in the use of any type of controlled substance. And currently marijuana still falls into a controlled substance on the federal basis. And so that's part of why you see some of those changes. We're looking at things like our driving history. So part of that is working with legal, making sure that, hey, what can we be insured for? You know, so people may have like a reckless driving history or something that years ago they had a DUI. You know, that may not prohibit them from getting a job, but it may prohibit them from being able to drive a vehicle for the city. So we have to work with our city insurance providers, our legal advisors, counsel on what the city is able to cover in regards to that. So we want to make sure those things are okay. And then we're looking at systems to increase our efficiency in regards to, as we're doing a background for somebody, how we retain those records. Currently, everything gets printed and goes into a binder, and goes into a folder and a pocket. So we're transitioning right now actually to go to a software program where everything's digitized. Everything's searchable, and it makes it easy for us to retain, and it's easier for the applicant, so it speeds up that process with the applicant as well. And all those communications that the investigator has with the applicant is all recorded. So creates some more efficiency that way for us. Creates a better opportunity or a better connection with our applicants too. So better relationship. Another thing we were really focusing on is officer wellness. So we want to really kind of look into what type of initiatives can enhance the longevity of officers in this field. This field is very, very taxing, and so we want to make sure that we have people that can come to work and be well so they can serve our community. And then we're focusing on another objective is development of staff. So we're looking at across the board, sworn and professional staff alike, looking at relevant training for their positions. What is the baseline core curriculum that they would need? What are some advanced trainings? And then what are some trainings that they can have to help enhance them for a leadership position? So create building blocks for everybody within the organization, regardless of the position they're in. So our second strategic priority was looking at the efficiencies of the organization. So that goes back to looking at some of the systems and workflows that we have. So we're looking at the different types of technology that are out there. What are we using? Is it relevant? It is a common theme throughout this whole thing, is going to be looking for efficiencies within the organization and create connectivity, because that's really one of the big gaps that we have. We have a lot of great systems. A lot of people know how to use these systems, but they don't talk to each other, and it sucks away a lot of additional time. So it's about how do we reduce that and be able to buy back some time for everybody. Looking at our processes, are our policies up to date? Are we keeping in touch with what are the best practices within the industry? Focusing on those types of things. This is a big one for us, is the accountability and transparency. So we want to continue to build relationships with our community. So we are encouraging our staff to be out there, be involved. It's not just an enforcement action in their unobligated time. Go walk around business districts, go have a field contact with somewhere. They're just having a conversation with somebody and they need mowing their yard. Develop relationships, because we don't want people to only think of police in a time of crisis. We want them to know that we're here for them at all times. So building those relationships. Another part is the information sharing. So as an organization, we've identified that it's very important for us to build trust through accountability by sharing data. And so one of the big things that we have not done well is not sharing our use of force data, our complaint data, those types of things with the community. Whether positive or negative, we want to make sure that everybody knows what we see as an organization. So part of what we did this year is, and it launched at the beginning of January, is implementing a system called or Blue Team for our officers. So this is a system that collects data. So any use of force, vehicle collisions, if we get into damage to property, whatever it is, we're able to track this data. If people make complaints or provide accommodations, we can track that data. And we'll then be able to report back out in an effective way. We're able to extract that data through analytics and be able to share them. As we redevelop our piece of the city's webpage, We have what's called Public Portal. That's part of the system as well, which will be accessible to anybody in the public. They can make a complaint or commendation that will be accessible to them on the website. And then they will get direct feedback as that information is taken into the organization all the way through completion. So those are some of those things that we're trying to work through and develop and share with the community. And then we'll report that data out annually as well. And lastly, we'll be looking at our growth management. So how are we going to build this organization? So for us, none of us are going to be in our positions forever. It's all about how you develop the next generation. So start forecasting when we anticipate people that are going to leave. We know certain retirements will be coming up, things like that. How do we start backfilling and training people to fill not only their role, but getting people into the organization so we aren't down staff. And then looking at different types of capital investment planning. So what are we needing as an organization, whether it's our fleet, whether as we're moving forward in the future with, maybe we need a new facility, what is that going to take? What are the steps that we need to do to take those actions? And who do we need to coordinate with to make that happen? So, and then I guess one other one was the purchase of a field training program, records management system. One of those is called TrackWire. We're actually in the final stages of that. So just like our previous backgrounds, everything was done by hand, kept in a binder. These were the same way. So as we hire somebody and they go through the academy and they come back to us, they enter what's called the field training officer program. They get daily evaluations and those types of things. And there's different phases and benchmarks that they have. Right now we're doing all that on paper, and that goes into a binder. This is just a way to digitize that, and it's easily trackable. It also allows us to see trends. So we can see trends with the trainers themselves of how they rate people. If a certain trainer may have bias towards somebody or a group or whatever, we can see that and correct those actions. We can also see if there's trends with certain groups of people that like age groups or whatever else that we bring students in or new recruits in learning styles or deficiencies within our own curriculum. And we can make those corrections as well because all that stuff is easily drawn out and through analytics and be able to report out. So we can make those corrections live. Any questions?
The new software or the new programs that you're using, earlier you mentioned that there was a problem with the old systems not talking to each other. Do all of these new ones talk to each other?
The ones that we just talked about don't talk to each other. They're completely different types of systems. Like our IA system, things that were all done on paper before, there are several things that are now being brought into one singular system. So it's just creating more efficiency for that piece. When I'm talking about systems that talk to each other, I'm more referring to things like Dispatch CAD, our RMS, our records management system for reporting, evidence systems, making sure that all those have good connectivity easily where we can pull data out, data in, data out. In some of those areas we have some challenges.
Thank you. And who's responsible for analyzing all of the data that you're going to be able to pull out?
So the systems themselves have different types of analytics to be able to do a lot of that stuff for us. But it would be whoever is assigned to that specific thing. Currently, a lot of those things are in my domain. But as we continue to plus up our staff and we build out our leadership team, some of those things will fall to other people as well. Okay.
Captain, I've got 4 questions for you.
Perfect.
So you mentioned early on in the presentation the new training facility. Is that a done deal? It's been purchased and...
It is not a done deal.
Okay.
We are still working to secure funding.
Okay.
That is still an in-process thing. We are also doing inspections on the facility. We've done a couple already. We still need to do like an HVAC inspection. That's upcoming here shortly.
Okay. So you talked about having data about retention rates. Do you know what the average retention time after recruitment of an officer is?
I do not.
Okay.
Those are pieces that we're looking at through this next year, seeing where our gaps are. We do know that in the next few years, there are a few people that are eligible for retirement, so that's when we're looking at some of the succession planning. It's being able to prepare for those and having communication about, hey, are you really planning on leaving? Or, and really having a clear understanding. So it's creating those relationships with our own staff that know what their plans are, and that when they're ready, that they're just letting us know. Because if people choose to move on, we want them to be successful wherever they go, whether it's to retirement or transferring to another organization. We want them to stay here, and we want them to feel that they're important to us, but we also want to support them in their growth and development.
So I noticed in the organizational chart that it says that you are currently filling the role of the deputy chief. Is there a plan to expand that in the future?
There is. So in July, so I believe it's July 1, my role will change from the role of captain to deputy chief.
Okay. Will another captain be hired, or is that?
There will not be. So
Oops,
we will
okay.
be hiring for the ranks of lieutenants. Those will be posted in June. Testing will be in July, and then whoever is hired. So those are internal and external candidates. So our internal sergeants will have the ability to apply, but we're also reaching outside the organization as well to allow a larger pool of candidates.
I think my last question, you, at the end of this presentation, you were talking about being more transparent with some of the data, including use of force data. Is it the case that prior to 2025, this was only available through a Freedom of Information Act request, or?
No, it wasn't. The challenge was, again, with a lot of our systems, while things are being recorded, things are done on paper. And so making sure that we're collecting the data and that it's accurate and that there's no gaps. That's something that these systems allow for us to do, is making sure that the information that we're collecting is easily accessible and readily available, and that we're producing accurate data. Because that's what we want. We want to make sure that everybody knows, hey, here, the data that we're giving you is true and correct. And we don't want to have any gaps there.
So then will that sort of information be shared on the website with the community?
Potentially. So it'll be in our strategic plan. Our annual report, sorry, not our strategic plan, but as we do annual reports, we will be able to report that kind of data out in an accurate way. Whether in the future we have some sort of module on the webpage that actually shows and tracks that data, I don't know.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you. I do have one more thing, if you don't mind.
Oh, go right ahead, because I'm stumbling through the agenda.
To just go back to public comment, we did receive one more public comment at the last moment. We still need to review that comment, and then we'll be able to share that at the next meeting.
And that review is just to make sure it's appropriate for this
That's
particular
correct.
venue, yeah. Thank you. So mine's cut off. That's the last one, that's why. Thank you very much. All right. Future agenda items. Do we have any member comments? No, sorry.
I was just checking on where we were for the Mental Health Awareness Fair. Was CAB going to be part of that on May 17th?
It's 10 days away.
That's a great question.
I brought it to Chief 2 months ago, so I've been waiting for an answer. I told him I was ready, and I spoke with the officer who did it with me last year, and he also said that he'd be willing to if Chief gave the approval.
So let me check into that for you, and then I
Okay.
will send out we'll send out an email to everybody with the plan on that.
Okay.
Captain, about our Citizens Academy, we've been threatened to have another one, I believe, in the fall. Is that coming together, or?
That is our plan. We do not have dates set for that, but we will share that as soon as we do.
Okay.
Please
Please go right ahead. And, well, the second thing I was going to ask was, do we actively recruit our student representative? I mean, we're winding down the end of the school year right now. So, but for the upcoming school year, after the summer break, are we actively recruiting a student to join our group here, or how do we do that? How do we actually reach out to the school and say, send somebody that wants to look over our shoulders?
I don't think that we have a plan or that we have planned to do that, but I do know that our last student representative, Chief Slowick, had actually sent me an email asking if I knew of anybody, and then I passed it out, and we got one that way. So I think individually reaching out to students is a really excellent way to do it, but I don't think that we have any kind of an actual plan.
Just to continue, so I think we should have a proactive approach to this, where we actually reach out to counselors and to instructors and say, you've got to have somebody that you know just jumps right out at you that you'd like to refer to us for this. Can any one of us take that on to reach out to the high school and ask them if they'd like to make some recommendations? I'll take that on as a personal project.
Well, I'm happy to contact Dwight Lundstrom, unless you would prefer to do that? Yeah? Oh, all right, I will contact Dwight and send a list your way. Yep.
Does that need to be, like, whatever the email is that would go out, does it need to go through some kind of a review process first? The compliance?
I believe that it does, but I don't know.
There is a process that we're putting in place for volunteers, so I would run that by Sabrina or Mikhail and see for sure if there's something they need us to do before or like Maggie. Yeah. And then club advisors too. Because some of those clubs have good leaders that are just starting out that might have a student as well.
So maybe this is not the right time to ask this question, but I'm wondering about like position 6 and position 7 as well. Are we able to reach out to ask people to volunteer for that, or should we not be trying to recruit?
Yes. Do it.
I believe
Thank
they're
you.
posted, but I don't know what that.
If you know of people that might be interested in doing this that fit within our parameters that allow it, yes. I mean, we have three vacant seats at minimum, and this is not the only commission that has that problem, right? So it'd be good to fill it up.
Can someone confirm for me that position 6 and position 7, are they inside the city, or are they the at-large positions? Do we know? I could go back through my records and look, but. Oh, position 4 as well, I guess. Do you have it there?
I believe position 4, 6, and 7 are city limits or Navy housing.
Okay. Thank you. All right, any other comments?
I actually had a question. For the Citizens Academy, is there a limit on how many people you're going to be taking in for that?
Yes, there will be. I don't know what that limit is going to be yet.
Can we, as a cab board, guarantee spots in that?
We could probably guarantee some spots in that. I don't know if we can guarantee the whole cab board on that,
Okay, fair.
but we can have that discussion.
Any other comments? Are you sure? Yep, okay. What about future agenda items?
So since you brought up the student and a plan going forward, having it on the agenda to follow up on, to see how it's going, to report on and whatnot, I think would be an ongoing plus.
This is excellent.
All right, so we'll have student representative recruitment on the next agenda. Okay. All right.
You could, or
Anything
just put
else?
it as board recruitment in general.
In general.
You can talk about all the vacancies.
Yeah.
One conversation.
So I know that some of the positions start to age out. That's not the right word, but we get too old for the term out. There you go. In the next year, right? Somebody leaves in December. I don't know who it is, but it seems like we ought to be recruiting.
Do we allow for extensions?
Do we have what?
Do we allow people to continue on?
I don't know.
I think so. We have in the past, right? Again,
To your point there, Rachel, Melinda's term ends at the end of this year. Your term ends at the end of this year. Position 5, which is vacant. Oh, no, position 5 is Marty. Ends at the end of this year. Uh-oh. And position 7, which is vacant, ends at the end of this year.
So recruitment seems like a pretty important agenda item then, yeah.
I think that would be very true
I think
because
next time.
the vacant position 4 and the vacant position 4, the vacant position 6, and I are the only ones continuing through 2026.
So does anybody have a motion that River is in the future the Citizens Advisory Board, right, that you would be? No, I'm just kidding. Okay. Any other comments? Questions? Complaints?
Yeah.
Concerns?
That
Yes.
expiration thing.
Yeah.
What is that?
When is our next meeting?
It is in July.
I do have one question. As Melinda mentioned, the mental health thing on the 17th, through Community Awareness Project, and CAB being a part of that. 4th of July is also not another opportunity if there's a way to do, it might be worthwhile just to be present if we don't have our recruitment filled or whatnot, to potentially see if we can tack on with part of the other city stuff that potentially might be going on, and just have some representation and rotate through and start, Of course, if our next meeting's not till, is it July? Yeah, July. Oh, we're in May already, Jesus Christ. I guess we could do an email, or if that's approved or whatnot. I mean, I don't know, it's just a thought,
I know this is months down the road, but it seems like National Night Out would be a good time to be recruiting people as well.
I think the
Right?
CAB should be at National Night Out without a
Well, we all.
question.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
If the police chief, if we have that, I think we know the police chief, so I think he can probably make that happen for us.
Last year.
We need swag.
We have swag.
All right, any other agenda items? Okay. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye. All right, meeting's adjourned, right?